more people to come in before we start. I just hit the record button, so just in case someone drops a gem again, we'll catch that one. Yeah. Do you know, what do you think? Should we start at 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just don't want to keep those who joined in early. Let's not just keep them too much. So maybe we could wait for more 2 minutes, 2, 3.
Okay.
Since we're going to record it, yeah, we can always make it available online. So yeah. So thank you to everybody that joined early. Thanks for joining in. Yeah. So hello everybody. Joshua asked me to send a URL that you can use to access a document that we created for this event, describing the event. So in case you want to take a peek, I'll just post it on the chat. You can use it to have a view access to the document where you see what the event is about. Thank you. Hi, Josh, you there?
Yes, I am. I am here.
Yeah. What do you think we start? Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Sounds good.
Okay. Yes. So, hi everyone. Good afternoon from Port Harcourt. I'm located in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Yeah. So I wanted to say thank you so much for taking out the time to, be part of this program. And this is very exciting for us because this is actually ABCD's first meetup. Okay, we are going to be doing this hopefully every month. Okay, so this is the very first one, and we are really really happy, with how many people RSVP'd for this event. We had about 31 persons that RSVP'd for this event. We hope that they'll be able to join us, during the course of the event. But it's all, full up. Like I said, I'm very very excited that we are doing this, and I want to welcome everybody again to ABCD. I hope you know what that means. African Blockchain Center for Developers. You know, it's an amazing community that we are building. So I'll just do a little introduction of myself, then walk through the agenda for today, and I'll allow other speakers to take it up from there. I mean, we have amazing, we have the opportunity of, having a futurist, okay, as a guest speaker, which is really, really exciting because I look forward to hearing, a lot from him, about blockchain. Yeah, so my name is Gino Osahon, and I'm a developer, a software engineer. For now, I am the developer advocate for ABCD, okay, for the ABCD community. What I do is to help, build a community where everybody that is interested in blockchain technology can come to find like minds, get access to mentorship, resources, and opportunities. So I work with ABCD to help build the ABCD community. I also currently I'm also part of our first cohort of developer training that is currently going on with Emogo. I'm also part of that training, and like Maxwell said, it's been an amazing opportunity to be part of all this. Um, Blockchain is something we should really take serious, and I am happy that we have a good number of people from Africa that are interested in blockchain. And what we want to do in the community is to create that one-stop space, one-stop center where everyone interested in it can come together, network, and do great stuff. Yeah, so I'll just quickly rush into the agenda so I don't take much of the time. I don't know if you're just joining in, if you look at the chat, I dropped a URL to a document that we created describing what this event is all about. And I will just go on that document and I'll be looking at the agenda section. Yeah, so I've done my own part, which is just to welcome you guys, into this event, this amazing event. So after that, we'll be having the founder of ABCD, Joshua Akpan. He will be taking a session on introduction to ABCD. So he's going to tell you what ABCD is about, what we want to do in the near future, like our short-term goals and long-term goals, and everything about ABCD. For those of you who want to really know what ABCD is about, this session is going to answer, give a good description of that. Then after that session, Joshua's session is just, it's not going to be for too long. I know we included 20 minutes there, but I don't know if it's going to take up all that time. But after that, we are going to have the main session. If you look at the title of this event, I mean, it's amazing. Career opportunities, around blockchain technology. So we have an amazing guest speaker. We are privileged to have him, and you guys, I think, are also privileged to hear from him today. So he's going to be talking to us about opportunities around blockchain and the future of blockchain. So although we are looking at how what ABCD wants to do is to, create that environment where a lot of African developers can play in the international blockchain ecosystem. Okay, so that's what I believe Joshua will be able to hit more on that. So at this point, I am going to introduce our founder, Joshua Akpan, for him to take his session. Thank you very much. And let me point this out, that if you have questions, maybe during Joshua's session or Gary's session, you could either drop it on the comment section so that we could relate that to them later. Or you could also, if it's very important so that you don't miss it, you can also just maybe raise up your hands, okay? If you want to say something, just raise up your hands and we'll give you the opportunity. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining this amazing event. Cheers.
Thanks, Gino. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everybody. Good evening if you're in Nigeria, and good morning, Gary. Gary is in New York City, in the United States of America. Well, I want to officially welcome everybody to our first ABCD meetup. It's actually surreal for me because I'm coming from a place where this was just an idea, and now we have everybody here, and we're having a meetup to talk about the opportunities and having a conversation around this technology and what we've been learning, and the future of what we're learning. It's quite amazing for me. So just a brief introduction of who I am. My name is Joshua Akpan. I got into this space in 2017 fully, where I discovered Bitcoin. And if you're in Nigeria, then you're not new to Ponzi schemes. It's sad because of how much people are talking about Bitcoin, people that are involved in Ponzi scheme. That's why I actually wanted to know what is Bitcoin, and I discovered that it was one of the ways they cash out their profits or their gains from these Ponzi schemes. And I was generally interested with why it was a currency and why people would rather take that money, what made it valuable. And I started to understand that it was it's good for cross-border payment without any form of hindrance, and no one else has access, or there's no middleman holding this money. It's just from point A to point B with no interference or third party. And I was excited about that, but I wanted to know more because something I discovered was this currency is not stable. So is it a currency? Is it stock? I was curious about. I know the naira was a bit stable because it's fiat currency, but this currency just went up to this amount and is back to this amount. It was playing, the fluctuation and and the whole volatility around the currency made it more interesting. And to be honest, I think in 2017 we had that crypto boom. Bitcoin just shot up to I think about 20K USD. Prior to that time, I had actually started doing some research just to understand what Bitcoin is, and there was little material out there to actually help me understand, at least to my level, because I was new to tech, and more importantly, I was new to anything that has to do with finance and stuff like that. Excuse me. So for us in Africa, we don't really have early financial education. Now for a lot of young people down in Africa, cryptocurrency and some of these schemes are their first introduction to investing or investment. So I was generally curious about what powers this currency, and then I went down the rabbit hole of blockchain technology, because when you start looking at CoinCap market or CoinMarketCap, and you're looking at all the list of thousands of cryptocurrencies, and you're wondering why are there so many? What is distinguishing one currency from another currency, and what are they trying to solve? I was going through a lot of white papers, checking out their differences, their use cases, and seeing how they're approaching their tech, seeing how they are what solution they want to solve, and the progress they've made, if it's feasible or viable enough to actually solve this problem. And then I came across Cardano, of which Cardano was kind of bespoke to me because I'm in Africa. At the time, they had already sent some of their team down to Africa, Ethiopia, where they were training lots of young women. I think about 20 plus ladies on blockchain technology. I think we were doing a Pluto's course um, on Cardano, and that kind of, it was like home to me. I'm like, okay, well, someone is building for Africa, and someone is in Africa, and that's how the attachment was kind of how do you say it? Because they're in Africa, I got attached to them, and I started teaching and talking to people about cryptocurrency like a crazy person. I would just meet my friends at the time. um, I'll talk to them about crypto. We have meetups. I was hosting meetups, and I would invite my friends from school. Get them to come. Sometimes I pay their transport, and they were wondering what is so important. Yeah, I was an evangelist, Maxwell. what is so what is so important about this blockchain thing? And they understood nothing for the first 2 weeks. They don't understand what I'm saying because I wasn't able to articulate myself. These nuances, these terms were actually new to me. So I was trying to understand and teach at the same time. But thank God for YouTube videos. That kind of helped. Making me understand these technologies. Because for me, there was nothing to compare cryptocurrency with. There was nothing to compare blockchain technology with. There was no predecessor of blockchain that was familiar with me that I could say, oh, okay, well, this thing works like this thing. And if you're talking to people that generally are just, I don't know, they're into art, they're into music, they're into architecture, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't come across to them easily. So it's hard for them to actually have or conceive the thought that you're trying to create. But then as we continued, it became easier with these videos. I would watch educational content about blockchain, about cryptocurrency. I started learning about first generation, second generation, and then Cardano is a third generation cryptocurrency. I just jumped to the future basically, and I watched Charles Hoskinson's. Yeah, we're talking about the future today. I watched Charles Hoskinson's whiteboard presentation, which I recommend for anybody to watch, especially if you want to understand Cardano, its mission and ethos and everything like that. When I did, it became clearer to me what they are trying to solve and what mistakes, maybe drawbacks Bitcoin and Ethereum was facing. And I discovered he was also like a co-founder of Ethereum, and he's building something. So he has an experience. He's been in the community since 2013, so he knows what he's talking about, and he knows how to assembling all this team. Cardano has 3 arms. There's the Mogo side that deals with enterprise level application software building for government and enterprises around the world, and then there's IOHK, of which Charles Hoskinson is the founder and CEO as well. And they're more into hands-on with the tech and building this product. Also with like the developmental stages they gave it. From Byron, Shelley, Goguen, building this thing out with a scientific approach. So that company is responsible for that. And also you have a foundation. So Cardano Foundation is, responsible for managing, a separate affairs and also the community of Cardano across the world, based in what country is he at again? Yeah. So I was learning. Yeah, Switzerland, based in Switzerland. Thank you, Gary. So, learning about these things, and I wanted to know what is my place here. I was curious about learning, but then I didn't want to stop because I wanted to teach other people. I wanted to talk to other people. It's like you just found something so precious, and you're like, oh, okay, this is good for Africa. I don't know how to code, but what if my friend knows how to code? Do they know about this technology? And we just started talking. I hosted about 10 meetups in 2018. Sometimes we have up to from July till like December, at least 10 meetups. We One crazy thing, I would rent halls, right? I would rent halls. I'll buy snacks and I'll call people to come. It was crazy. I'll call people to come, and they would come. I'll pay their transport for those who don't have, and then I'll give them ADA, Cardano ADA. If they perform well during the session, I'll give them take-home assignments and for them to study these things, just to make sure they don't go back and forget. They engage with this, with the knowledge I'm trying to pass to them. And when they come back for the next meetup, I'll give them ADA for doing the assignment. Sometimes 10 ADA, sometimes ADA wasn't hyped up in price at then, so it was I could afford that, right? And they were interacting with the currency, which was easy for them to start understanding it, because they could play around with it and send it from point A to point B. So when I'm talking about transaction, they can actually transact one ADA to this person, and then that hands-on experience kind of open their mind to the currency itself. We thought to start a new project from that. It's called Proof of Africa. And so in 2019, just to stay sustainable while doing that, I had a big vision to actually reach out to more people outside of Nigeria. I wanted to reach out to my friends in Ghana, um, some people in South Africa. I thought, okay, well, I'm not limited here. If these young people don't know about blockchain at this point, at this time, the chances are a whole lot of people down here in Africa don't even know what blockchain technology is. And, how do we reach out to more people and stay sustainable? So I was thinking of how I could, start hosting more meetup and reaching out to more people, just to form like a community of blockchain enthusiasts in Africa. In doing that, I started finding that, oh, okay, well, there are other people doing this somewhere in Lagos, somewhere, around. I tried to connect with them. I would host meetup people. I would host like meetups together, and creating this vibrant environment for people to get interested or get acquainted with this technology. And then to stay sustainable, like I said, we created Proof of Africa. So Proof of Africa is a blockchain driver, adoption driver. That's what we like to call it. So we are trying to push the blockchain message like an evangelist to the rest of Africa while staying sustainable. and then so we created this stake pool. And if you don't understand what a stake pool is, don't worry, I'm going to send a link that will explain it better for you. I don't want to go into that now, but the point is how wanted to have something that gives us money, a little bit of finance to be able to run these things. And so we did. We created Proof of Africa, and we started hosting more meetups and connecting with more people and more hubs in Africa. So in Rwanda, in Uganda, South Africa, in Ghana, in Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Cameroon. So we have all these networks of hubs in Africa that we connected with, and we would send some of them ADA and would host meetups with them and stuff like that, just to spur an innovative environment where maybe a good startup could come up from, or an idea that we can promote or develop together. And then we did that, but I quickly thought that talking about blockchain technology was not enough. I wanted to do more, because we had a lot of developers within our ecosystem, right? And also spread across Africa. And we thought, okay, how about we start teaching these people how to actually code and give them the opportunity to join a program that can actually teach them how to play around with this technology, learn this technology properly, and build something that is bespoke to them and their community, or for Africa as a whole. So we came about the idea of ABCD, African Blockchain Center for Developers. So that is a spin-off project of the stake pool we started, just to stay sustainable and reach out to more people in the hopes of getting more adoption of this technology in Africa, right? So Africa faces a whole lot of problems that stem from the corrupt nature of centralization. And in order to curb that, we have to introduce something different. What about a decentralized Africa, a more efficient Africa? And so this birthed from our activities and our quest to build a better Africa than we have met it. So that is how ABCD came around, and partnering with sorry, I'm talking and trying to let more people in. So partnering with with Gwen, he's not here currently. So Gwendal is my partner and also my co-founder for both ABCD and POA. And then last year, just to keep it short, we started ABCD and went through a whole lot of iterations. And thankfully, we're here where we're able to start ABCD. And we got Gino on board this year. Because if you know Gino, then you know why we have Gino on board. So he's just an amazing personality and someone who is also on the same mission as me. And I'm really happy to have him on board as well. So this is the story of ABCD. This is how we got where we are now. And we are trying to change the narrative, in Africa, number one. And number two, we are trying to give Africans the opportunity to it's a nascent technology, right? So blockchain is pretty new, right? And most times we are unable to join the wave when it starts because of some uh, I don't know how to put it, but this is the first time where the line is set and everybody's on the same lane, right? We are on par, and everybody have the opportunity to start together. And my job, I feel obligated to make sure we have the people that can actually run this race from Africa, ready to run with the world, and give them the opportunity to join the world to run, so they can, we want to create a pool of talents that are Africans, and to show the world that, hey, we have talents here too. If these people are given the same opportunity, they are going to build something cool, and I'm here for it. Hopefully, we have the first cohort is just 14 people, but in future I'm looking to have at least 1,000 people come out from the ABCD program. So yeah, cheers to the future. And if you're in the program, I'm very happy. I'm excited to see you, because it's beautiful to see an idea, like I say, come to life, and you're part of that idea. Hopefully we're able to change the narrative in Africa. We're able to change Africa and make Africa a better place than we've met it. So if you're joining us today, thank you and welcome to ABC.
Nice one. Yeah, thank you very much, Joshua. But you didn't give detail into like the current cohort, what we're currently doing with Ermogo. You want to say anything about that? Maybe that can also inspire some other people.
Gina, I'm going to let you talk about ABCD now.
Yeah. Okay. So just to chip in, like Joshua said, ABCD recently partnered with Emogo. If you know Emogo, Emogo is a champion when it comes to blockchain education in like around the world. So we currently partnered with them, and we are going through a program, okay, a 4 to 5 months program where we are being taught, blockchain, the concepts of blockchain. I mean, it's an amazing program. So what we did was we did a call for application, around Africa. Like, okay, the first this pilot was we were focusing on Nigeria. We wanted to do something and test. So this first cohort, we did a call for application for everyone interested in blockchain to register, and we got amazing response. And we selected 14 persons. Okay, currently those 14 persons are being taught by Emogo. We are being equipped with amazing, like you will not believe what we are being introduced to. We are being equipped with world-class blockchain development skills. So this is a program that we are going to be rolling out different cohorts. So for those of you that are here and are not part of this current program, please still be in the community, because we are going to roll out some other cohorts. I mean, it's an amazing program, an opportunity for you to be equipped with blockchain development technologies. And thanks to ABCD, they have a very good arrangement with Emogo, where ABCD is ABCD is the one financing the whole training. All we just do is get people, developers who are really interested to be part of the program, and we equip them with amazing skills. I want to talk about that program because it's important. So other guys, I want you to look forward to when we do call for application again for that cohort. But we have a lot of activities that we're going to be engaging community members with before the next cohort start. Yeah, I just wanted to chip that in. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. And so if Joshua is not going to say anything again, we would love to give, yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to introduce our guest. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and again for the main event while we're here. Today we'll be talking about um, blockchain technology, and more importantly, we'll be talking about career potentials and opportunities in blockchain. For a lot of people that's developing with us, growing and building with us in the program, it's expedient that you understand why you're here and the opportunities around what you're doing, and at least have a glimpse of where you're going with that. And so we made this call out for this event so we can give you an idea because sometimes you might just be, learning, and you don't have the time to visualize and see where you're going with this. So we brought in our friend, a very dear friend of ours, of POA and of ABCD, to come and talk to us about what lies ahead. Emphasis on ahead, because he thinks ahead, he thinks in front, he thinks the future. So we have Garry with us. So Garry is an academically trained futurist who speaks and consults about forces shaping society and business in the 21st century. Garry's foresight work has informed organizations like Dell, Fidelity, Microsoft, PepsiCo, and the Walt Disney Company. I mean, I don't know how else to express how excited I am to have Garry. Garry is also a resourceful person in the Cardano community. He's well known. His contribution has been nothing short of amazing, and just an overall stand-up person, and a great guy to usher in this first cohort. First meetup with all of you today. I'm very 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 excited to have him here. And without any further ado, Garry Golden.
All right, thank you, Josh and Gino. First sounds coming through okay? All right, perfect. So it's a pleasure to be here. I have been a big fan of Josh and the Proof of Africa and ABTC world for a long time, and just really thrilled to be joining everyone here today. Let's just kind of jump into things. I'm going to be sharing some remarks, and to kind of guide things, we're gonna use a presentation. And for folks that may not be able to see the presentation directly, there will be a copy of this slide deck made available to everyone. So don't feel the need to write anything down or screen capture. We'll distribute a web link that will have a copy of the full deck. Today, I want to accomplish two things. I want to just introduce myself and this idea of what it means to think like a futurist, so you can all be empowered in thinking about the future in a different way. And then we want to look at this idea of the future of blockchain and career opportunities, and how we think the industry is going to unfold in the years ahead. So it's, I always like to start with just kind of the personal story, right? Personal roots matter. For folks that are not familiar with the United States, I live in Brooklyn, New York these days. Two young kids, and my wife and I live in Brooklyn. But I grew up in Philadelphia. So I grew up in the United States. There's something called row homes. So these are kind of homes that share walls, and they're just all connected. And on a block, there might be 50 homes. And the block that I grew up on was like very dense, kind of smaller homes, no trees, like very kind of urban, right? And I grew up in what's called in the United States kind of a blue collar community. So my father was a welder and a pipe fitter for the electrical company, and my mother worked at McDonald's. So I certainly have had lots of privilege and advantages in my life, but I come from humble roots, right? I come from a kind of a very urban, gritty background. And as I grew up and kind of went in my teenage and young adult years, I became fascinated with the big picture. And in particular, I became fascinated with the idea of human beings going up into space and seeing the Earth, and human beings going to Mars and starting to transform Mars potentially into a living planet. And during that, period of my life when I was obsessed with space, I saw the word futurist. And I saw the word futurist and I was like, that's what I want to do. And at probably I was maybe 20, really kind of knew that there was this graduate program in the University of Houston that trains futurists. I knew I wanted to go there. But before I kind of set off on that journey, I was able to live in South Asia for 2 years. So I spent 2 separate years living in Nepal and India. And that's kind of been my heart is, first connected with South Asia as a young person. So that's when I became a futurist, kind of 2005. And then since that time, I have been learning about the craft, learning to work with large organizations to bring more structure and discipline and thinking about long-term change, and have really been more like of a corporate futurist. And then just prior to COVID, kind of, shutting down the world last spring, we signed a lease on a corner real estate property at the bottom of our block, and we are opening up what's essentially an after-school or a community learning space called Into the Future. So we will be creating programs for young people and older people to better understand how the world is changing. So we'll have classes on, the future of health, the future of blockchain, the future of fashion, the future of sports. And this is kind of my new focus, is this community learning space. So that's who I am and where I'm coming from. We've got about 25 minutes together, and I'm going to try to accomplish a lot. I want to spend some time just introducing Foresight to you, kind of demystify, like most of you are probably saying, what is a futurist? So I want to kind of demystify what that means. And then we're going to look at the future of blockchain and what we think could be career opportunities. So when we think about change, there are really three lenses that we can bring to that conversation, right? The first is what we would refer to as hindsight. This is this idea of drawing upon history and our experience, and being to say to ourselves, like, well, I remember when mobile phones first came in, or I remember when the internet started, or whatever it was, and or it could be an elected official, a new leader, and you can draw upon that history and hindsight, and then say, well, how might that influence how I see the future? And it's very useful. Experience really is second to none. And then there's this idea of insight, which is our ability to have a little bit more nuance in commenting on the changes that are happening today, that we see in the world at this moment. And then what I really want to focus on today is this third lens, which is foresight. And we can define foresight as this ability to anticipate and lead change. Now, all three of these lenses are important, right? Hindsight, insight, and foresight are all critically important. But given the nature of, as Josh and Gino have suggested, we are in the earliest days of cryptocurrency and blockchain. Foresight is really the most important, right? There is no precedent. We are entering into kind of uncharted territory. So I really want to make an emphasis on how to think like a futurist. Now, before I get into some of the details of how futurists break down change, I want to recognize that there is a spectrum of things that we could talk about when we think about the future. It is critical to talk about the social norms, the social foundations of your community, of your society, and ensure that people feel like they have purpose, that they're happy, that individuals or communities that may have been historically disadvantaged are starting to see justice, and that we not get too carried away with globalization and recognize that all of our efforts must be local, right? They must come from local communities and they must serve local communities, right? Localization really is the key to globalization. So that is one end of the spectrum, and very, very important to talk about. But the other end of the spectrum tends to dominate, right? When you talk about the future, it tends to be very technology centered. It tends to be about like individualism and growth and globalization and kind of go. And this idea of classically futuristic thinking is usually what dominates the conversation about the future. So I try to talk about both. And I want you all, as you think about career opportunities as developers, to know that the future requires us to address all topics across that spectrum. So what does a futurist do with organizations? It's really three things. First, we investigate changes that are happening today. We're scanning the world across social changes, technological changes, economic, environmental, political, and legal changes. And we're trying to say what's going on right now. Then we need to be able to imagine implications. And when we imagine implications, we can do it two ways. The first is through what we call forecasting. And a forecast is simply an extrapolation of trends that we see in the world today that are moving up or down at a certain rate of change. And we just carry that forward. And you really don't need a futurist to help you think about that future, right? Because it's visible to everybody. So where futurists really try to bring value is in this idea of scenarios. And scenarios are simply stories of a different future, right? So a world without COVID versus a world with COVID, right? Those are fundamentally different futures. So when we imagine tomorrow, we like to think in terms of stories or scenarios. Then the final thing that futurists do, and you know, you all as futurists, is inspire change, and to turn to your friends and family and communities and nations and regions and say, we need to be moving forward in that direction. And it's usually in a different direction. So these are kind of the fundamental activities of a futurist. And then I just do, you know, one more thing before we jump into kind of the core mental framework of thinking about the future. I just want to introduce what we call the mechanisms of change. So you can't just talk about the future with no language and no structure. You've got to have buckets that you put change into. And the first bucket is what we refer to as trends. And trends are simply more or less of something. So increased adoption of mobile phones, increased CO2 in, you know, the atmosphere of the ocean, right? Increased population of older individuals. Trends give us continuity. They give us what we call a plausible future, and we use forecasting to get us there. Then the second thing is events. And events can be, again, they can be an election, they can be change in leadership, or they can be what we're experiencing today with COVID, which is a wild card event. A low probability, not likely to happen, but high impact event. If it does happen, it'll really transform the world. And you can't forecast events. You have to think in terms of scenarios. Then the third thing that we do as futurists is help people understand their choices. This is the aspirational or preferred future, right? The world that we want to see across Africa. And in this case, we use visioning to imagine what that world is. So all three of these are important, but they all require very different actions and tools and frameworks to support them. So I want to end the introduction to Foresight with a really core framework for how futurists look at change. And it makes a distinction between what we're going to refer to as just incremental innovation within an era versus what we're going to call transformational innovation across a new era. So when I say an era, it's often referred to, and this comes from the business school world, as an S-curve era. So what you can see here on the screen is kind of an elongated, a stretched S. And there are three stages within this S-curve, right? And I'm going to kind of walk through them and then illustrate it with some examples. So the first period of change is slow. It's emerging, right? You look around and you say, let's say it's the 1980s and it's the beginning of the personal computer. And you say, oh, there's these calculator computer things are starting to appear in the home. And most people say, why do I need a personal computer? I don't need to do calculations at home. And during this stage of slow change, the human mind underestimates the impact of this new thing. Then we enter an era of what we call rapid or accelerating change. And it's during this period, let's say the mid-1990s, where we say, oh my goodness, everyone's getting on this internet. Everyone's buying a computer. And at that period where it seems to be accelerating, the human mind overestimates what's going to happen. And we start talking about unrealistic futures, right? And then inevitably over time, more and more people adopt it. The technology reaches a plateau of its performance, and we enter what we call a period of diminishing returns. I cannot innovate any longer within this era. And anything I try to do leads to diminishing returns on my efforts. So what we need to do then is imagine, what is the next era of disruption? Okay? So let's just look at three examples of this era, and then we'll start talking about blockchain. So if we think about the history of the human experience, right? There have been different eras of mobility where we just walk or run, and then there was boats and rail and the automobile and aviation. These were the different eras of mobility and transportation. Then a futurist is going to say, well, what's next, right? Hydrogen electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, things of that nature. So a very quick, in a workshop, we would talk about this, but it's just a webinar, so I'll kind of throw in the takeaways. When we look at this notion of era-based change, it's important to recognize that the legacy eras do not always go away, right? And one of the lessons in this S-curve analysis of change is that the future is often additive, not subtractive. So when we think about blockchain and cryptocurrencies, the tendency is to say, this is going to replace that. We are going to replace something, subtract it away, versus add to it, right? So, will blockchain get rid of banks? No. Will it add and expand the notion of banks and peer-to-peer financial systems? Yes. So the first thing is the future is often additive, not subtractive. And then the second thing is that the current users, the people that use that current system, often look at the emerging technological era and they say, it just doesn't solve my problem, right? It's of no use to me. So if you were a railroad operator, whatever period of time, and the automobile came around, you would have said, well, that automobile is useless. Like, it's not connected to the river towns. It can't really haul a lot of heavy stuff. You need to have like a mechanic travel with you. And that new offering is useless to the dominant legacy incumbent world. So we are developing solutions around blockchain that most people may say, no, that doesn't solve my problem, right? So we're not going to go into the details, but what futurists do is we pay attention to signals of change. And we try to figure out, when are we shifting from slow change to fast change, right? So here's an example of autonomous vehicles. We're clearly entering a period where there's going to be rapid change. And then as a futurist, I help clients understand really the nuances of change. So in the autonomous era, it's not just self-driving cars and trucks. Autonomous vehicles are portable places. I can put a clinic on it. I could put a waste removal on it. I could put an energy battery pack on it. So portable autonomous systems are not just for people. They can be for services and kind of micro real estate, right? And then we figure out, like, who does it empower? Cities, campuses. Could we have societies that don't have a lot of vehicle ownership leapfrog into an era where their society is driven by autonomy? What happens when cars can see the world and they start to, look for crime and things of that nature? And then beyond the car, what are other autonomous systems? So this is what I do with companies, is really help them bring rigor and structure to thinking about change. So just to end this S-curve model, you can look at materials engineering, natural materials, metals, plastics. We live in the age of silicon. What's next, right? I am focusing on what's next. Media communication, one-to-one communication was disrupted by broadcast communication, which was disrupted by social media communication. And in a few years, we're all going to have AI assistants. And when we receive information, that information is not going to come to us. It's going to come to our AI assistant, right? So it's kind of disrupting social. So every single industry in the world is going to go through an S-curve era of disruption. And I think you want to look at career opportunities that bridge these S-curve era transitions with blockchain, right? That is the opportunity. So when we talk about these career opportunities, we are really talking about designing solutions in a world where we are shifting from an era of centralized to decentralized models of financial systems, of identity systems, and governance. Broadly speaking, you are trying to develop solutions for these three things. So, big question is, what is blockchain? And this is a video that we'll have you watch. It should be funny to you, but we'll have you watch offline. We've got some issues on the sound here, but it's a conversation here from the United States from 1994, where these TV show hosts, these morning TV show hosts, they were giving out an email address. And they get to the @ symbol of the email address, and they're like, what is that symbol? And they're going back and forth. Like it's hilarious to watch them talk about it because they have no idea what they're talking about. And they get on the earpiece and they say to their producer, what is the internet? And you're just sitting there watching this video today. Like, we did not in 1994 have the language to talk about the internet. And if someone would have said to you, oh, the internet is networked computers, you would have been like, okay, I understand that. You're networking this computer to that computer, and you could visually imagine it, but you couldn't imagine the rise of Google as a search engine company, or Facebook as a social networking company, or I would get into a car with a stranger around some mobile application on my phone. So we can't just use definitions of blockchain to understand what could happen in the future. If someone says to you, well, blockchain is just a decentralized ledger, you need to say to yourself, what can't I imagine might be born out of this era in the same way I couldn't imagine through network computers? So I am not going to get into the weeds of blockchain technology, but I'm guessing most of us are well versed. We just need to know that there are two really core components to blockchain that enable what we refer to as trusted transactions. First is the ledger, which contains all of the transactions and the ownership keys associated with that, system. And then the second thing is what we call smart contracts, which are neither smart nor contracts. They're just simply automated business processes. And those two components were born out of the original blockchain application known as Bitcoin. And Bitcoin really was an ideologically driven effort where we wanted to be able to do banking without a bank. And Bitcoin was the first blockchain application that allowed for peer-to-peer value transfer without the need of an intermediary. Then very quickly, that community started to say, well, we're doing banking without banking. Well, why do I need to pay iTunes to buy a piece of music that's a digital file? I can just code in a smart contract. When I buy something, it automatically disperses the payments to all the parties. Why do I need Uber to hold my payment information or my reputation? We can have Uber without Uber. Why do I need a marketplace like eBay? We can have distributed marketplaces. This is the ideological foundation of the world that you are entering. Now, you may develop solutions in your future careers that create and disrupt centralized control, or you may work with centralized players that simply use blockchain to improve what they're doing, right? It doesn't, again, this is a subtractive mindset. This could happen, but it's not likely. And I've got my eye on the clock, Josh. Maybe if I can get 10 more minutes and we'll get through. So there's a lot you can explore when you think about blockchain and cryptocurrency around the evolution of money. I just want to give the highest level, like what's different right now. So when we look at cryptocurrencies, it is all about the decentralization of control, that the management of these liquid pools of capital, like value, is controlled by a network, not an institution. And that there are incentivized systems in place that reward individuals to maintain this network. So it's economically incentive to stick around. It's not going away. And then within this future world of blockchain value, we can begin to program currency. So I can say, I'm going to send, in the future, I can send Josh, a Garry coin, and that Garry coin can only be spent on food or on digital content. I can program how that value is used. And that is empowering and also potentially dystopian. And then we can begin to see a world where we decentralize everything in the financial stack, from loans to insurance to credit risk, things of that nature. So that's the good, potentially bad. And then there are also unintended consequences that we need to be aware of. One is just if systems, like if we had a system that is like a Twitter without Twitter, then you can't really censor what happens on Twitter. and what happens when bad stuff goes out on that network and you can't censor it. And some people are willing to deal with that, and some people aren't willing to accept that. There are lots of internal dynamics that we won't get into, but the biggest kind of unintended consequence for me is governments could end up making stable coins, which are equivalents to their, government-controlled currencies, and they could start to program their economic policy. So let's just take Nigeria. We're gonna create a program where we give each family, 200, Josh coins every month, but that 200 Josh coin can only be spent on education, right? So there's lots to blockchain that we have to explore, good and potentially bad. So when you think about your future careers, there are a number of different categories. I'm just going to put them up here. We'll explore them later, or you can explore them later. But you've got payment solutions, you have identity solutions, you have decentralized finance solutions, there's governance, management of organizations. There is a lot around media and digital content control. And then there's very specific kind of integrated sector-based use cases. So this is the big picture of what your careers could develop. As I kind of wrap up here, I want to just talk about like where we are in all of this, and then we'll end with specific kind of examples of opportunities. I'm 46 years old. I recognize some people may be on this session that weren't born during the early stages of the internet, but I was around. I was in my early 20s. And in the early stages of the internet, everyone thought that we were going to get rich by buying .com stocks. The way to get rich was by buying these startups. And in the end, as the internet finally matured, the wealth was not in buying the stocks. The wealth was having a world where individuals have access to the web and can create applications to make money. And today, we think, and I suspect across Africa, that people are looking at crypto as the way to get rich is by buying crypto coins. And there will certainly be people that can and will get rich off of crypto coins. But I want you to realize that your mission is to spread a very different narrative, which is Africa creates wealth by having decentralized finance. The way you are going to build wealth is going to be by having cryptocurrencies, not from the cryptocurrencies. So where are we? 10 years, we just filled these networks, the Cardanos, the Bitcoins, the Ethereums. We capitalized them with money. We continue to do that. About a year ago, we saw the emergence of DeFi, decentralized finance, exchanges, loans, basically banking services without the bank, NFTs, digital stuff. But really, it's been about get rich quick. And we're in a bull cycle. We're feeling like it's going to grow. And soon that'll stop and we'll go into a winter or a bear market. And then I think the next cycle is going to bring what we call stable coins and supply chain solutions and economic identity. And then there'll be a short winter. And then I think the mainstream is really going to begin in 2025. You all need to be thinking about your career as a stage sequence. You're going to be an early stage sequence for the next 4 years. And then you're going to be very, very employable beginning in 2025, right? So that's my thesis. Josh and I are brothers in the Cardano community. And I don't want to dismiss or disregard any other cryptocurrency platform. I have a lot of love for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, from Algorand, Polkadot, all these other plays, Ergo. But for me, it is Cardano. Cardano has within it a kind of 3 tiers. One is the crypto assets, so we have coins. The second piece of Cardano is economic identity. So we can bring identity to the world. And then the third piece of Cardano is governance. We need to, within the blockchain platform, be able to change it. We need to be able to improve the system through a decentralized manner. So for me, Cardano is the giant that is awakening in the cryptocurrency space, right? So I want to end this by looking at what do I think are the near-term and the medium-term opportunities. In this case, we're going to look at Cardano as that lever, but there are other blockchain platforms, right? The first is first, I want to say that I think the real opportunity moving forward in the next few years is all around economic identity. Don't try to get rich off the coins. Understand that the most important thing in Africa is bringing economic identity to individuals, to organizations, businesses, and entire supply chains. It doesn't matter what the price of ADA is. We can onboard hundreds of millions of people around identity solutions. So Cardano a few months ago released a news that it was working with the Ethiopian Ministry of Education to bring on 5 million students and teachers with basically identity wallets for their educational records. So which tests they've taken, where they graduated from, kind of their credentials. These identity wallets are brand new. It's like having an email address. I didn't have an email address. Then I did. Well, your job, your solution is to get people in Africa to have identity wallets. And they'll put their educational records in it. They'll start to put their gaming records, their business rewards, their workplace records, their healthcare records. So identity wallets is a big solution. Then there is the use of Cardano identity for enterprise. So World Mobile is a telecommunications company working with Cardano to basically use Cardano's identity system as the back-end customer relationship management protocol. So payments and invoices, all that stuff, logins. The third opportunity in the near term is sector supply chains. So coffee supply chains, commodity supply chains. DeFi is kind of getting a lot of attention these days. Understand that we're just in the first stage of DeFi, right? It's going to emerge. And then there are identity solutions around media. So creating identity solutions for artists and creators that create content, for the communities that orbit those creators. I would say that this identity for digital content is probably the real big one. And then when we look out beyond 2025, it's all about thinking, well, if Cardano just built educational identity wallets for schools, how can we create identity wallets for the workplace? So in a world where AI is going to start to take over service and knowledge work, individuals will need to verify their workplace data. And that data will be verified and then fed into AI systems. So beyond 2025, it's blockchain plus AI. Then we've got identity solutions for marketplaces. How can I buy and sell and support and fund individuals, craft level markets? And then what's the next evolution of finance, DeFi? I think it's going to be about funding startups and insurance. So just 2 more minutes here and I'll wrap things up. The final kind of like big bucket of opportunity for future careers is, in many ways, countering big tech. You want to think of your future not just as, well, I could go work for the big fintech company, or I could go work for a big tech company that's based in Africa, or I can begin to think about a career around decentralization of tech. And if you're going to do that, you need to understand where are the near-term opportunities. And for me, one of those opportunities is in using blockchain and identity systems to create data sets that are used for AI applications. So in the world of pharmaceutical innovation, there's something called precision or genomic innovations, where I am basically designing a drug for you based off of your genetic kind of profile. And there was a group of people in Nigeria that realized, well, there isn't really representation of Africa-based populations as a data set that are being used by pharmaceutical companies. So they created a company that was going to then build out a data set that they would sell to these pharmaceutical companies. There is an enormous opportunity ahead around blockchain data sets. So everything from products, like I point my camera at something and it knows what it is, to data sets around social media, sentiment analysis, things of that nature. There are opportunities around data sets in gaming environments. There are opportunities around data sets around nature and ecosystems, data sets around commodities and natural resources. You want to be thinking about a career where you're using blockchain to develop data sets that are driving AI innovation. So if you want to explore this space more, there are two projects that I want to put on your radar. One is called Singularity Net, and they are a partner within the Cardano world, and they are basically trying to create a decentralized marketplace for AI, where these AI algorithms can, be used by individuals, not just large, powerful companies, and they can kind of buy and sell their services. Then there is a project called Fetch.ai, and Fetch.ai is trying to create AI bots that will basically do economic exchanges in the local marketplace. So buying a parking space, buying a ticket to a movie theater would not be done by you. It would be done by an AI bot built on a blockchain. So you can imagine your career where you're developing bots that live on a blockchain and handle very basic economic exchanges. And then the final kind of futuristic thing, again, is this idea of just like we all didn't have email addresses or social media profiles a few years ago, all of us are likely to have AI avatars. We're likely to have there's going to be a digital Josh, a digital Gino, and that person, that entity is going to live on a blockchain and may, speak on our behalf. So the decentralization of AI avatars is a huge opportunity in the future. And the final thing I'm going to really wrap up, because I know we're out of time here, is to think about your world and your skill set. In the HR leadership community, there is often a distinction made between an I-shaped and a T-shaped individual. An I-shaped individual is like a great programmer, great developer, great salesperson, or great engineer. And a T-shaped individual has depth, an eye-level depth of that skill, but they also cross that I to make a T. And across that T is they have other training. They are well-versed in ethics, in design thinking, psychology, experience design. So I want you to think about your future careers not being I-shaped individuals, but your future career as a T-shaped individual. So I'm going to end it there. I'm going to send Josh and Gino this website, but I will be, in the minutes after we break off, I'm going to be uploading this deck to this website, and you can download a copy of that. On that website, there will also be links to other things that are related to blockchain for you to explore. So I'm going to cut that off. Do you just see me now, Gino? Okay. So I don't know whether we have time for questions or I'll turn it over to you, Gino.
Yes. Wow. Let me do this for Garry.
It's a lot.
Man. Wow, Garry, thank you so much for this session. It was very informative, and I want to believe some other persons will have questions. Yep. Josh, are you there? Do you think we can? Yeah, I think we can take questions. If you have questions and you would like to ask Garry. Garry, we don't know if you still have some time, maybe like 10 minutes.
All good. Yeah, all good.
Okay. So please, does anybody have question you want to ask Garry about, from what you've heard today from him? Do you have any question to ask?
Or challenges?
Yeah, you can drop your question on the chat box, and we're just going to read it out if you can ask it, or maybe you have network problem. But I actually wanted to throw some questions at you, Garry.
Okay.
First of all, thank you. I appreciate this lecture we just had. To be honest, I learned a lot about how to think and look at these nuances and norms and everything you talked about. Just it feels like a framework that teaches you how to think especially in whatever field, and generally speaking, in different fields of life, how to think and what to expect. You talked about hindsight, insight, and then foresight, looking at the future, uh, piggybacking of what has happened in the past, and looking using those data to analyze what to expect in the future. And I just want to, well, when you learn, the skills of, in blockchain, you learn to code and write these contracts. Um, you're not learning for it's a skill that is universal, right? So it's not just bespoke to maybe Nigerians, or you're building for the world, right?
Yeah.
In retrospect, if you're looking at Africa, maybe from 2003, right, it wasn't really great, but what we have right now feels a lot like a dystopian version of what Africa should be, right? So yeah, you don't expect it to go. We didn't expect it to go this bad, but it did go this bad, And we're trying to build a new world, using these tools we have now. There are same challenges that we face, right? We're talking about AI. We don't have infrastructure that will power AI at this point, right? So, in your opinion, what are naturally, I'm not speaking, generally, but specifically for Africa, where should we concentrate in building? If if you have any idea.
Yeah. So I would say, well, first on the, you can build for the world. And I think an ideal vision is you want Africa to have the blockchain development talent for the world. That's kind of your end game. But your biggest priority is to help Africa benefit from decentralization. So focusing on that local, focusing on the regional, I think is the first step. If you were to ask me, like, where should we focus? I think from my perspective, it is developing solutions, economic development solutions, first for government and institutions, right? You need to bring the power of the decentralization of identity and the power of transparency and control to government services and institutional services. Then focus on economic identity, and then I would focus on the industries that are most local and global. So focusing on natural resources and commodities, coffee supply chains, ports that have, ports need blockchain solutions, energy field services need IoT blockchain solutions. So I would just turn to the most dominant economic engines of your societies and try to develop a decentralized layer. So start with economic identity for governments, make them believe in you, make them see the value, and then also the largest industries.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I see a question here by Kelvin. It says, what do you think is the futurist plan of food in the context of blockchain? Do you think amazing startups can evolve in the food industry? Garry.
Absolutely. So there's a lot in the food space. One is, the production of food and origin and traceability and safety and security and supply chains for supply chain visibility for producers. So the small farmers. So on the food industry side, huge opportunities there. And then I think there are opportunities from like restaurants, street vendors. So you can make really cheap, you can make permitting for street vendors and restaurants on blockchain. You can have reward systems and payment systems and delivery food systems built on blockchain. So I would look at the food industry as a huge opportunity space, from the producers to the users. Huge space to develop solutions for.
Awesome. I think we have one from Kolade Femi. Says, hello, I wanted to ask if there are materials available for newbies with little or no knowledge of blockchain. Also, I'm a product designer, and all the materials that have come my way were created for developers, which makes it hard for me to learn with. Can you advise me on how to learn how to build with blockchain tech, even if I don't get any materials made for designers?
That feels like you should answer that, or Gino.
This is for Gino, obviously.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, So, maybe before we close, I'm going to take some time to talk about the community, the ABCD community, and how everybody can tap into it and have access to materials and all that. But I wanted to point out that as a designer, okay, you are also very, very needed in the blockchain development ecosystem, because there is no way you can build a sustainable solution or a real problem solving solutions without proper design. Okay, so I know you are interested in blockchain development, but if in a blockchain company, in a blockchain software development company, of course they are going to hire designers. Okay, so I don't think you should maybe just like throw away design and start going into maybe coding or developer stuff. But like Garry said, we should not be the I, the kind of people. We should be T. So it is also good to consume some other knowledge. So you could be, but what I want to say is, what I'm trying to tell you is that even in blockchain development, we need designers, we need product designers. So your role is very, very important in the whole blockchain thing. And blockchain development, it's not just all about coding. It's not just all about coding.
Yeah.
There are different areas, okay? And you could be a master in your design area, but also have normal knowledge on other areas. And as for materials, thank you for pointing this out. We are going to make sure in the community we're not just focused on developer-centric content. We're also going to be gathering materials for other areas, because like I said, not just developers work in a blockchain company. Okay, designers can work, testers can work, analysts, requirement gathering experts. There are different sections. We'll try to break this whole thing down, but stick with the ABCD community. What we want to do in this community is to provide materials. So those materials that you're talking about that you don't have access to, that was one of the reasons why the ABCD community was created. Okay, so stick with the community, connect with us, connect with me, connect with Joshua. Okay, send personal messages and we'll take it up from there.
Yeah.
Perfect. I just wanted to add to the question on design. Everything, there's no startup, there's no product, there's no solution without a design. So the beauty about blockchain is we're changing the fabric of society, and we need everybody. We need all hands on deck, right? We need designers, we need engineers, we need everybody. So I think you need to understand that the ecosystem need people like you and people from your community to come in and think about how to design solutions, and understand that, hey, there's a place for you. No one is left out. This is not just for coders. You're in psychologists, you're in healthcare, wherever you're coming from, there's a place for you, because we are actually changing the fabric again of society. It's not just specific to IT experts alone, if that helps.
Really helps. So I think we should just take all these questions, because I think some more questions are coming in. For example, after the one we just talked about, there's this one from Adewumi Sahib. How can I start with the development for learning part? Yeah, so if I get you correctly, like you're talking about how can you assess blockchain development learning materials. Okay, it's good that you are connected with us in the community. We are going to get back to you, pointing you to resources that we could use. But one thing we are currently doing is that, like I said at the beginning of the event, we have been able to go into an amazing partnership with a blockchain technology educational platform. I mean, these guys, when you talk about blockchain development in like blockchain education, they are pioneers in that sector. So we have an agreement with them to train the ABCD community members, to equip ABCD community members with world-class blockchain skills. So by being part of the community, and we connecting you. If maybe when we roll out our other cohort and you get into that cohort, you have access to learning amazing blockchain skill, gaining blockchain skills. So we have designed something on how we can train people from beginner or intermediate level to becoming blockchain developers. So it's good that you're part of the community. Just stick there. Okay. Joshua, there are some other questions. Mokhtar Abdul Razak here. I'm co-asking Mr. Adewumi's question. Also, is it possible we get access to the recorded presentation together with the slides? Yeah, Josh,
sure.
you want to do that?
Yeah, I think the slide Gary just posted up. I think a PDF on the website Into the Future. So if you click that link, the PDF will be made available there for you. Also, the recording will be provided to everybody that RSVP'd for this event. So don't worry about it.
Awesome. So because you're in the community, we're going to send emails out. Like, after this meetup, we're going to send emails to everybody that attended. So a lot of this content will be included. URLs to this content will be included there. So there are other questions. Yahaya Tijani asks, did Mr. Garry have an institution for learning blockchain tech?
So I do not. I have a crypto club of friends and families, but that's not developer. So if someone asks me about that, I would say contact ABCD.
Yeah. So that's what ABCD is for. Okay, ABCD is trying to create that place where developers can come to learn everything relating to blockchain. And we're not just doing this alone. We are partnering with educational platforms. Okay. Another question, Gary's email. Okay. Habib, is there any Telegram or Slack group? Yeah. So for the ABCD community, we are using meetup.com as our central place of connecting. Okay, so if we are going to set up maybe a Telegram or Slack group, it is good that you're in the meetup group, and we'll broadcast this information to you. But for now, please stick to the meetup.com page. Okay, this is from Eze. It's a suggestion. I think the ABCD forum should be looking at being the one-stop place for blockchain information and materials, just like FreeCodeCamp. Yeah, we are looking forward. That could be like, our long-term plan, but
it's in the pipeline.
Yeah, it's in the pipeline. Okay, but currently, what we want to build ABCD into is to be that place, that central place where every person's interested in blockchain from Africa can come to. Okay, you find like minds there because I want to believe everybody that attended this meetup is interested in blockchain technology. So we want to create that pool where all these people can find themselves and be providing mentorship materials, connecting with opportunities, and a whole lot of other stuff. Yeah, I think we don't have any other questions coming in from Maxwell. Just dropped a message. I think these tech-related issues can be sorted along the way. I think the major aim is the mindset and projection going forward. Yeah. So we'll take it.
Gino, can I just comment on that? And because I just want to repeat it again, because it's part of my mission. And I don't think that we will succeed if blockchain and crypto is perceived to be get rich quick. We must make people across Africa realize that the wealth is created when we have as a society decentralized identity, decentralized finance. So as much as we can get people to realize the wealth is not going to be created in buying Bitcoin and ADA, or if you can invest, great, but like the wealth is going to be created by having that foundation. So that Josh talked at the beginning about changing the narrative. For me, that's it.
Awesome. Yep. Josh, you want to say something?
No, everything's covered pretty much. Everything's covered. Yeah, we if without any if there's no more questions coming in, if anybody wants to comment on, what Gary said, what I said, or I mean, the floor is open, and then we can close.
Yeah. So, but I want to talk to every other person, like, the community members. Okay. Please, like, this is an opportunity that we should associate ourselves with. Okay. Being part of the ABCD community is having access to knowledge. Okay. Having access to like minds and having access to, putting Africa on the map. So, what we want to do is that we want to, because we've noticed that there is an international blockchain ecosystem. Okay, like you have people are from around the world playing in the blockchain ecosystem, and we found out that Africa is not a strong stakeholder, okay, in this international ecosystem. So that is why we created the ABCD community, so that we can give African developers and designers the opportunity to play on this international stage. So please be part of the community. Watch out for our weekly newsletters and updates and other opportunities. Okay, you can reach out to me or the ABCD team at any time if you have questions. And we are going to be doing this every week. So maybe next week we're going to bring, another Garry, to discuss content. So what we want to do is every month we're going to be having meetups and we're going to be taking topics. Some of these meetups will be very technical, where we talk about development. Some we talk about communications and other stuff. But I want to say a very big thank you to all of you that made it out to attend today's event. And also special thank you to Garry for your session. Yeah, you can connect with Garry on Twitter, so get information coming out from him. Yeah, so for me, I don't have any other stuff than to say very big thank you to everybody that joined today.
Thank you. Final words. Thank you, everybody, for making out the time to join. Thank you, Garry. Special thanks to Garry, of course, for this insightful session we had with you, and also giving us an idea, foresight, what to expect in the future, and what to concentrate the majority of our time thinking on, especially in the ecosystem and our cause for change. For all the developers, aspiring developers, people who want to join the program, we have you in mind as we're rolling out the next phase of the second cohort. We are going to make this announcement. We already have your details, but just watch out for the space, and watch out for our Twitter and all our handles. Our email is also in the chat, just in case you need to reach us directly. Yeah, so thank you. Appreciate you for making out time, and get ready to build the future of Africa.
All right, guys. Sorry, can I say something? I kind of came in late, so is it possible I can get like what was discussed? Because I was in a meeting, I had to join in late, quite late. So can I get? Is there a link to get what you recorded?
Yeah. Did you RSVP for this event?
I suppose I did. I think I got the message for the meetup, so I guess that means I RSVP. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to email all the information, including these slides, to all the emails we received.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for making out time for this event. All right, guys. Bye bye, everybody.
Hello.